I have a question. How would you gauge how money's distributed? By hard work? Well, if that's the case, then why are busboys not the highest paid in the hospitality industry? Or construction workers paid as much as doctors? I believe it comes down to education. And huge disclaimer, education and intelligence are two completely different things. The system is designed intentionally to teach the majority of us nothing about money, which means the majority of our parents know nothing about money or how it truly works. And this is done intentionally, as money is just another mechanism for control. The good news for you though is that you stumbled upon this video, which means that you have some interest in learning money or trying to understand how it works. And the first step to understanding money is learning how to save. Saving can be extremely challenging as the majority of us live paycheck to paycheck, but by the end of this video, you'll have a solid formula to start growing that savings account. The first step is to establish your monthly income. For this video, I'm going to use a monthly income of $3,000 after taxes. Obviously, some of you may have lower than this and some of you may have higher. Just apply what I'm going to do to your monthly income. But back to my video. Now that we have our monthly income established, we're going to use the 50-30-20 rule. 50% of your monthly income will go to your essentials, that is your rent, your groceries, and your transportation. 30% of our income will go to our luxury goods. Those are things like eating out, clothes, and entertainment.
Whoa, wait a second, Terrence. I can't live on this kind of budget.
Starting off, most of us can't, but I'm going to give you a few tips so you eventually can. Before I do that, that remaining 20% of your monthly income will go into your savings. And now that that's out the way, before I was rudely interrupted, let's start with tip 1. Shop around for cheaper insurance rates. It's smart to go around and compare insurance prices after being under a policy for a few years. Try to find discounts like accident-free discounts or maybe even loyalty discounts. But most of the time, you're going to end up saving money by switching insurances or merging insurances together. You can check to see if you're supposed to be receiving discounts for being a safe driver or even insuring multiple cars. And while you're at it, you might as well make a call to that internet provider or cable provider, especially if you had them for a few years. Tip number 2, get a bank bonus. Some banks offer bonuses and they don't require much. Some of them just require either setting up a direct deposit or just holding a minimum amount in an account. Just make sure you read the fine print before you open the account so you know the requirements needed. Tip number 3, automate your savings. Did you know that the average consumer spends 83% more money when they buy with a debit card or credit card compared to when they purchase with cash? So with that being said, have your employer deposit parts of your check into a high-yielding savings account. It's a lot easier to save money when it's not accessible. Tip number 4, use a budgeting app. This is definitely one of my favorites as it's very easy to set up and it works extremely well. Personally, I use Digit. It uses the state-of-the-art AI technology that calculates how much you spend on your lifestyle and then begins to save for you. Speaking of you, give yourself a pat on the back for making it this far. I mean, most people like to whine and complain about situations without actually taking the initiative to change them. The fact that you made it this far means that you're really serious, and if you apply these tips, I'm sure you'll see results a lot sooner than you think. Tip number 5, take advantage of those pre-tax savings. Set up a 401k that uses your pre-tax dollars to fund your retirement, which, if done properly, can lower your taxable income, giving you that tax difference to be applied to your retirement. If you're lucky, some employers even match what their employees put into their 401ks. Tip number 6, take charge of your food spending. Eating out can be expensive. The average American household spends $3,000 a year on eating out. It's a lot easier than you think to prepare your own meals, and not only is it just easier, it's a lot healthier for you as well, which I personally think is something to mention considering the fact that 74% of Americans are overweight. Tip number 7, take advantage of student loan forbearance. Did you know that legislation passed a bill putting federal student loans on hold back in March of 2020? By staying up to date with policies and legislation, it gives you an advantage to optimize opportunity on paying off some debt. Tip number 8, watch out for those new shopping habits. With people being trapped inside their houses all pandemic, online shopping has hit an all-time high. It's good to keep track of that shopping cart at the end of your online shopping spree, as it gives you the ability to see how much you truly are spending. And now that the pandemic is slowly coming to an end, people are beginning to travel more and visit more stores than ever after being trapped inside, which results in revenge spending. Don't be a revenge spender. Tip number 9, refinance your home. Refinancing is a good opportunity for some people on a tight budget to save some money. Mortgage rates continue to remain at historic lows, with the average 30-year mortgage rate at 3.2%. Refinancing can save you thousands over the course of a lifespan of a loan. Closing costs is extremely important when considering refinancing, as it usually makes up 3% of the refinanced amount. But if you're really interested in learning how to refinance the right way, I just made a video about it last week, and I'll put a link to it in the description. Click the link below if you're interested. And I know some of us don't own homes, some of us rent. Which brings me to my next tip. Tip number 10. Save money on rent. Renters may want to consider moving to a smaller place or a lower cost area when it comes to saving rent. If you change jobs during the pandemic or don't have to commute every day, then moving to a cheaper place could really shave off some big bucks to that housing cost, which does make up a large chunk when it comes to most budgets. You can also try to negotiate your rent or the terms of your lease to potentially try to save money on rent. And last but not least, check your paycheck withholdings. Getting a tax refund at the end of the year may feel like found money, but the truth is that you're overpaying on state and federal taxes. That money could instead be used during the year to pay off high interest debt or add to a rainy day fund. With all that being said, you're definitely taking this whole finance thing seriously since you're taking the initiative. And since you are, if you have any questions, feel free to comment below and I'll do my best to help and get back to you. As I know this whole finance thing can be confusing and overwhelming at times, considering the fact our traditional education system has taught us so little about it. But with information like this being more and more accessible due to the internet, things are beginning to change. Which brings me to one last question. What are you waiting for? Get saving.